It's the end of the month, which means it's time to share my small pad that I smashed for the month of March and what I made with it. Hey guys, it's Beth. Welcome. Like I said, it's the end of March, so it's time to share what I made for the Smash Those Small Pads collaboration that my friends Sarah and Kathy and I are doing. It's a continuation of a collaboration, bigger collaboration that ran through last year, and it's just about using up pads smaller than 12 by 12. So this month I used the Bloom Wildly pad from Scrapping for Less, and yes, it met an unhappy accident with my coffee mug on my desk. Nothing else was harmed in the making of these projects but the pad cover. So I was originally going to do like a full process on how I use the 6x6 pad, but I just finished the birthday collection process video series, and I actually did a couple videos showing my process on these because I did it in conjunction with my Not Too Shabby design team projects. So I will link those down in the description box below for you in case you missed them and want to see how I made some of these things. And then the rest of it, I really used my silhouette for a lot. I have been doing that a lot this month. In March, in my Facebook group, which is Crafting with Bourbon Creek, we have a monthly challenge for tools. And this month's tool was electronic die cutter of any kind. And so I've been trying to use the heck out of my silhouette. I use it a lot for my business anyway, but I was just trying to actually use it more for some of my other projects that I do as well. So with that being said, let's jump in. Oh, Sarah and Kathy. Sarah is Crafting and Relaxing here on YouTube. Kathy is Stampin' Cat over on Instagram. They will both be linked below as well so that you can see what kind of small pads they focused on this month and what they made. So we'll start with a few of the projects that you've already seen. I used the Sweet Critters stamp and die set for a lot of these. They were the Not Too Shabby stamp and die of the month, and so I had already pulled out this pad to use anyway and thought the critters would work well with the kind of soft pastels from the Scrapping for Less pad. So these were some cards that I made at the beginning or kind of throughout the month using the stamp and die set as well as the pad. And again, these will be linked in the description box below. And along with that, I had made a couple of Post-it note pads as well. So those were all process videos. The rest of it is just kind of stuff I did on my own when I had some time. So I did use one sketch. I didn't make a whole lot of cards with this collection, but I did use one sketch. It's Operation Right Home number 171. And it's because I had a bunch of strips left at the end. And I had that card sketch kind of in my head. I had used it recently for something else. And so I decided these strips were, it calls for 1.5 inch strips, and they were all 1.5 inch. So I was like, perfect, I just have to trim off the length. So just brought in some gray cardstock to mat those on and some peach cardstock that I used a My Favorite Things rectangle die on that actually added a stitch around the edge. And then when I used my silhouette to cut things, I try to utilize every last bit of space on the paper that I could. So when I was cutting some of the other projects, I had like a little bit of space left over at the bottom, and so I just cut, it's almost like a rick-rack die, like a wavy rick-rack kind of die cut. And so I had cut a bunch of those and decided I could use them on the bottoms of these cards. And then I just have a stamped scallop or a scalped circle with a stamped sentiment on the inside. Just kind of pulled 3 different ones from my stash. And then on the insides of these cards, I did have some of these little strips left over, and so I just threw those on the inside. And then after making those cards, I still had some strips left, and there were a bunch of them that were the same length, and I think the width is fairly close, but not exact. And so I just put them on a strip of white cardstock, and then once I trimmed it down, I was like, okay, so that won't fit on an A2 card, but it would totally fit a mini slimline, and it was perfect. I just pulled out some green paper from my stash. It was already cut down to be a mat for a mini slimline anyway, and it worked perfect, and just added another one of those wavy strips and a sentiment. So those were the few cards that I made, and then I did end up making a couple more Post-it notepads using those little critters that I had already stamped, die cut, and colored. And the coloring is super simple. I'm not a huge colorist, whatever you want to call it. And then I made a couple more nail file holders and just kind of layered up some of the scraps I had left at the end, and just to kind of decorate the front of those. And then I've been playing with gift card holders, and I was trying to find, like on my silhouette, I was trying to find one that I could actually cut out of a 6x6 sheet. Most of the files cut like just over, like you need about 7 inches to cut them. And so I found this one. It's an oval, and then it has a separate piece that works as the pocket on the back. So I was like, perfect. So it just cuts a big oval. And then I just used a different pattern to cut the pocket for the back, and I could use scraps for the pockets. This took up most of the page, and then that's what I cut these strips, the little wavy strips at the bottom with the excess. So I got 4 of those, and then also used some of the smaller scraps that I had just to cut some scallop circles. And then I have a Just For You sentiment that I created on my silhouette, because I didn't have one that was big enough to be kind of the focal point of the front of the gift card holder. So I just thought that was pretty, and I believe it will still fit inside an A2 card if somebody really wanted to gift it, along with a card. And then I have a bunch of bookmarks. Some of these were just strips I had left over at the end, and then there were, I think, 2. There's one that I cut when I was cutting out the pockets for the gift card holders. I had like here 2. I was gonna say, I thought I had 2, but I had just enough space, and so I just had my silhouette cut a bookmark and then just added the tassel, and then the rest of these were all just strips I had left at the end and just rounded the corners, and thought they would make really pretty bookmarks since they are, two-sided. So I got 10 of those, and then 2 of these little bookmarks that like slide over the top of a page right there. I had like a random flower that I cut, I punched some shapes with what was left at the very end, and then I cut 7, I think, bunnies, and they are, I don't know if you can hear, I have a chicken in the background going nuts. She's one of our house chickens that likes to come in and hang out for a while during the day, and she's responding to the rooster that's outside crowing, and so she's making a racket. So sorry if you can hear her. But her name is Miss Betty, by the way. So I cut a bunch of these bunnies, and I just tried to use like the different patterns, and I just thought that would be a really cute kind of shabby chic Easter decoration. I loved the kind of spring pastels and the florals, and I just used some white yarn that was on my desk to string that. And then since I had that file up, I used my silhouette to cut those. I decided to cut several of them down and just make a little kind of corresponding decorative block. And I just used Mod Podge to apply these onto the block that I had in my stash, which is just, I think this was a 1x6 that was cut down, sanded, stained. So now that kind of another little shabby chic Easter decoration. So that is my haul for this month's Smash Those Small Pads. Cards, Post-it pads, bookmarks, banners, gift card holders, all from one 6x6. But please be sure to check out Sarah and Kathy and what they made this month down in the description box below. And there's always great inspiration on using up your pads as well. Thank you guys so very much for your time today, and hope you all have a very crafty day.